My daughter, the light of my life, gifted her father-in-law a lavish $13,000 cruise for Father's Day, while I, her own dad, got a measly $2 lottery ticket with a mocking smirk. If you win, we split it right. But when that ticket hit a $120 million jackpot, she used my own stolen money to smear me across the internet, branding me a thief of my own flesh and blood. Now, with a broken heart, I'm fighting to reclaim my honor, not just for me, but for the love I poured into her. If this family drama shocks and moves, you hit that like button, share, and subscribe to catch every twist of this emotional roller coaster. Man, I really thought this Father's Day was going to be the one where I'd feel like a dad again, not just some old guy fading into the background. I'm Henry Brooks, pushing 60 widowed, rattling around in this small Ohio house full of creaky floors and memories. I was up at dawn scrubbing the kitchen, setting the table with my best plates, the ones without chips. Homemade cornbread beef stew bubbling on the stove. Lily's favorite from when she was a kid. I could still see her 6 years old giggling, "Daddy, more gravy," as I drowned her plate. That little girl was my whole world, especially after her mom passed. I figured tonight might bring some of that back, maybe close the gap that's grown between us. I even set out a toy car for Tim, my 12-year-old grandson, hoping Lily would bring him. Foolish hope, I guess. I dug out an old photo of Lily, maybe 10 ice creams smeared on her chin, and propped it on the mantel. I wanted her to remember those days. I worked double shifts at the garage for years, hands black with grease, back screaming, just to pay her college tuition. Nights I'd crash in my chair, too tired to hit the bed, her textbook still open on the table. I gave her everything. So yeah, I was banking on tonight meaning something. A chance to feel like her dad again. The doorbell rang, and my heart did a little flip. Lily walked in all dolled up in a coat that screamed money, her eyes flicking over my house like it was a museum of bad taste. James, her husband, 38, strolled in behind her, slick as a used car salesman, that smug grin plastered on. Arthur James's dad, 65, a big-shot businessman, followed. He's got this quiet decency, not like his son. I cracked a dumb dad joke about the stew being award-winning. Lily rolled her eyes and James smirked. Arthur gave me a small nod like he got it. We sat down, and I was about to carve the roast when Lily slid a crumpled piece of paper across the table. "Happy Father's Day, Dad," she said, her voice sharp like she was doing me a favor. I smoothed it out. "A $2 lottery ticket. If you win, we split it right," she said, smirking like I was the punchline. I forced a chuckle, my chest tightening. "Sure thing, sweetheart," I said, but it felt like a punch to the gut. A lousy $2 ticket. After everything, as she handed it over, a slip fell from her purse, a travel agency receipt. I grabbed it before she noticed my hands shaking. It was for a cruise dated yesterday. Then Lily lit up all dramatic like she was on some reality show. "Oh wait, James's gift." She pulled out a shiny gift box ribbon gleaming under my dim lights. She handed it to James, who opened it with this self-satisfied nod. "Cruise tickets, $13,000 for a Mediterranean getaway," she announced, eyes sparkling. "James deserves the best," she said, "for all he's done for us." Arthur nodded, but his eyes flicked to me, a flicker of sympathy, like he knew this was wrong. James leaned back smug as ever, saying, "Now this is a proper gift, Lily." The lottery ticket burned in my pocket. My phone buzzed. A bank alert. I glanced under the table and my stomach dropped. $13,000 withdrawn from my savings dated yesterday. My savings, the money I scraped together over decades, the late nights, the skipped vacations. My heart pounded, but I kept my face steady. that fake smile glued on. Lily was still gushing about the cruise, oblivious. James tossed out lines about family loyalty. Arthur stayed quiet, his gaze heavy. I wanted to scream to demand answers, but I didn't. I'd raised Lily better than to make a scene. Or so I thought. They left car doors slamming in the driveway. I sat there staring at that damn ticket, the receipt crumpled in my hand. Who took that money? Why would Lily treat me like I'm nothing compared to James? My mind flashed to those nights I held her promising I'd always be there. Now I wasn't so sure, but I wasn't going to let this go. I'd find out the truth about that $13,000, even if it tore us apart. I sat there in my kitchen, the silence screaming louder than the dinner party ever did. That damn bank alert, $13,000 gone just like that, kept flashing in my mind, mocking me. My hands were still shaking from last night, clutching that crumpled travel agency receipt I'd snatched when Lily wasn't looking. It was real, dated yesterday for a fancy Mediterranean cruise. My money, my savings. The money I'd busted my back for working double shifts at the garage, grease under my nails, just to give Lily a shot at a better life. And now this. I felt like I'd been sucker punched, but I had to know the truth. I had to hear it from her. I grabbed my phone, my fingers fumbling as I dialed Lily's number. Each ring felt like a lifetime, my heart thumping like it wanted out of my chest. When she picked up, her voice was all breezy, like she was halfway through a latte at some overpriced cafe. "Hey, Dad, what's up?" she said like nothing was wrong. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my voice steady. "Lily, I got a bank alert. 13 grand gone. You know anything about that?" There was a pause, just long enough to make my gut twist. Then she laughed and said, "Oh, that. It's just family money, Dad. You never use it anyway. I got James that cruise. He deserves something nice for once." I swear my blood ran cold. Family money. That was my life's work, every overtime hour, every skipped vacation, so she could have her fancy degree. I could barely get the words out. "Lily, you took my money without asking." "That's not okay." Her tone shifted sharp now, like I was the one being unreasonable. "Come on, Dad, don't be so stingy. James has been there for us, paying for our house Tim's school. He's generous, not like—" She trailed off, but I heard the word she didn't say, you. Stingy. Stingy. Like I was some cheapskate hoarding pennies instead of the guy who gave her everything. My mind flashed back to when she was 15 after her mom died. She'd crawl into my lap sobbing, and I'd hold her tight, promising I'd always be there. "We'll get through this, kiddo," I'd whisper, my own tears soaking into her hair. That girl was gone, replaced by this stranger who thought my life's work was her personal piggy bank. I wanted to yell, to beg her to see me, but my voice cracked instead. "Lily, I raised you. I worked my ass off for you. Doesn't that mean anything?" She sighed, like I was a kid throwing a tantrum. "Dad, James has shown us what real success looks like. You did your part, sure, but he's on another level. Let's not make this a thing." "Okay." I hung up my hands, shaking so bad I nearly dropped the phone. I sat there, staring at the kitchen table, the same one where I'd helped Lily with her homework, where we'd laughed over burnt cookies. How did we get here? Then I opened my laptop, my fingers moving on autopilot. There it was in my inbox, an email Lily sent by mistake, meant for James. A confirmation for the cruise, paid with my account. She didn't even try to hide it. It was like she thought I'd never notice, like I didn't matter. My chest ached, part of me still hoping she'd call back, say she was sorry that she didn't mean it. But deep down, I knew better. I grabbed the phone again, this time calling the bank. "I need to revoke someone's access to my account." I said, my voice steadier than I felt. The lady on the line, Rebecca, was kind, walking me through it, like it was just another Tuesday. But for me, it was like cutting a piece of my heart out. I'd given Lily that access years ago when her mom died, in case of emergencies. My mistake. Never again. As I hung up, I looked at that lottery ticket on the counter, that $2 joke she'd tossed at me. What was she gonna do next? I wasn't sure, but I wasn't gonna let her walk all over me. Not anymore. I was still reeling from that call with Lily, my kitchen feeling smaller than ever, like the walls were closing in. That $2 lottery ticket sat on the counter staring at me like some cruel joke. I picked it up, my fingers tracing the numbers, and my mind drifted back to when Lily was 7, her pigtails bouncing as we walked to the corner store. I'd give her $2 for an ice cream cone, and her face would light up like she'd won the lottery herself. Best dad ever, she'd squeal sticky fingers, grabbing my hand. Now, that same $2 was her way of tossing me aside like I was some charity case. My blood boiled. I crumpled that ticket and chucked it into the trash can right on top of coffee grounds and yesterday's leftovers. Good riddance, I thought. But man, it didn't feel good at all. I sank into my chair, the silence deafening. My whole life I'd poured everything into Lily double shifts at the garage, skipping dinners to afford her textbooks, holding her through the nights she cried for her mom. And now she calls me stingy, compares me to James, that slick-talking jerk who thinks money grows on trees. I felt like a nobody in my own daughter's eyes, like all those years meant nothing. My chest ached, not just from anger, but from the weight of losing her. I kept hoping she'd call back, say it was a mistake, that she didn't mean it. But my phone stayed quiet, mocking me as much as that ticket did. The doorbell snapped me out of it. It was Ellen, my older sister, her face all worry as she stepped inside. "Henry, you okay? You look like you've been through hell," she said, setting a casserole dish on the table. I tried to shrug it off, but the words spilled out about the $13,000, Lily's cold laugh, her calling my savings family money. Ellen's eyes widened, then softened. "There's something you should know," she said, hesitating. "Lily borrowed $5,000 from me last month. Said she needed it to keep up appearances at that fancy country club with James. I didn't want to tell you, but she's changed Henry." I stared at her, my stomach twisting. My little girl borrowing money to play rich while stealing from me to buy James a cruise. It was like a knife in the gut, twisting deeper. I don't know what came over me, but I stood up and marched to the trash can. I dug through the mess coffee grounds, soggy napkins, until I found that crumpled ticket. I held it under the faucet, washing off the grime, my hands shaking not from anger now, but something else. Resolve, maybe. That ticket wasn't just a cheap gift. It was a symbol of everything I'd let slide every time I looked the other way when Lily drifted further into her high society bubble. I smoothed it out on the counter, staring at those numbers like they were my last stand. "This is mine," I muttered to myself. "Not Lily's, not James's. Mine. And I wasn't going to let her make me feel like less than I am." Ellen watched me, her eyes soft but fierce. "You're stronger than you think, Henry," she said. "Don't let her take that from you." I knotted my throat tight. What was this ticket gonna do? Probably nothing, but it felt like a piece of my dignity, something she couldn't just toss away. I tucked it into my pocket, my mind racing. Could I face her again, call her out for what she'd done, or was she too far gone? I didn't know, but I was done, being the guy who just takes it. I'd spent too many years building a life for her to let her tear it down. Whatever came next, I was gonna fight for what's mine. Starting with my own damn self-respect. Man, I was still shook from digging that lottery ticket out of the trash, my hands still smelling like coffee grounds from that desperate moment in the kitchen. It was late, the house dead quiet, except for the hum of my old fridge. I couldn't sleep, not after Lily's cold words, not after Ellen's bombshell about her borrowing money to keep up appearances. That $2 ticket sat on my kitchen table mocking me, but also feeling like the last piece of my dignity. I'd smoothed it out. Those numbers, 7, 14, 23, 35, 42, Powerball 18, burned into my brain. I kept thinking about what Ellen said. You're stronger than you think, Henry. Maybe she was right. Maybe I was done, being the guy who just takes it. I flipped on the TV to drown out my thoughts, surfing channels mindlessly. A nature show about wolves, some cooking thing with fancy desserts I'd never try, then bam, the local Ohio lottery broadcast. The announcer's voice all cheery, like she was selling toothpaste cut through my haze. Good evening, folks. Tonight's Powerball jackpot is a life-changing $120 million. My heart did a weird flip like it knew something I didn't. She started reading the numbers, 7, 14, 23. My hands fumbled for the ticket, my pulse hammering in my ears. 35, 42. And the Powerball is 18. 18. I froze, staring at the TV, then back at the ticket. No way. No damn way. I checked again, my hands shaking so bad I could barely hold the thing. Every number matched. Every single one. I sat down hard, the chair creaking under me. $120 million. From that lousy $2 ticket Lily tossed at me like a joke. I laughed, but it came out more like a choke. My mind raced back to that Father's Day dinner, her smirk that split it right line. I'd spent years scraping by, fixing cars, skipping vacations, all for her. And now this. It felt like the universe was playing a sick prank. I grabbed my phone, hands still trembling, and called the lottery hotline. Some automated voice confirmed the numbers, then a real person came on, calm as you please. Mr. Brooks, you've got a winning ticket. Come to our Columbus office tomorrow for verification. I mumbled something, hung up, and just sat there staring at the ticket like it might vanish. Was this real? Could I actually pull this off? Before I could wrap my head around it, my phone buzzed. A text from Tom, an old buddy from the garage who's still got one foot in the gossip mill. Heard from a guy at the country club, James was bragging, you hit the jackpot. True. My stomach dropped. James's country club buddies. How the hell did they know I hadn't told a soul, not even Ellen? The rumor must have leaked from someone at the lottery office, maybe a clerk who knows James's crowd. Small town's man word travels faster than a wildfire. I felt a chill like trouble was already sniffing me out. Sure enough, my phone rang again. Lily. My heart sank, but I picked up. Dad. She said, her voice all fake sweet, like she was selling me something. I heard you won big. That ticket I gave you. Huh? Pretty good gift, right? No, congratulations. No, I'm happy for you. Just that tone, like she was already counting the cash. Lily, I said, my voice low. It's my ticket. You gave it to me. She laughed sharp and cold. Come on, Dad. I said we'd split it. You heard me at dinner. Everyone did. I gripped the phone tighter, my knuckles white. You bought it with my money, Lily. Money you stole. Her voice turned icy. Don't start, Dad. That's our money. I deserve my share. I hung up my chest, heaving. She didn't even ask how I felt, just demanded her cut, like I was her ATM. I leaned back, staring at the ceiling. Part of me wanted to believe she'd come around, that the girl who used to hug me and call me best dad ever was still in there somewhere, but her words kept echoing. James is on another level. My mind flashed to her at 15, crying in my arms, after her mom's funeral, me whispering, "We'll get through this, kiddo." That girl was gone, and it hurt like hell to admit it. But this ticket, this impossible, ridiculous ticket, was mine. Not hers, not James's. Mine. And it wasn't just about the money. It was about proving I wasn't the nobody she thought I was. I called the lottery office back, my voice steadier this time. "I want to do the public ceremony," I told them. "Let everyone see it." The lady Janet sounded surprised but agreed. "It's your call, Mr. Brooks. Be ready for the spotlight." I hung up, my heart racing, but not with fear anymore. Determination, maybe. Lily could play her games, but I wasn't backing down. What was she going to do next? Try to take it from me. Let her try. I'd spent too many years letting her walk all over me. This time, I was going to stand up for my dignity, for the truth, for the man I'd always been. I was still trying to wrap my head around that $120 million bombshell, that damn lottery ticket sitting on my kitchen table like it was daring me to believe it was real. I'd just hung up with the lottery folks my decision to go public at the ceremony, feeling like a lifeline, a way to prove I wasn't the nobody Lily thought I was. But man, I didn't see this coming, not in a million years. My little town of Ohio, where everybody knows your business, was about to turn on me, and it started with a single Instagram post that hit like a freight train. I was sipping cold coffee, scrolling through my phone to distract myself, when I saw it. Lily's face all red-eyed and teary, staring into the camera like she was auditioning for a soap opera. "My own father stole my lottery ticket," she said, her voice breaking just right. "I gave it to him as a Father's Day gift, said we'd split it, and now he's claiming the whole $120 million. This is betrayal, pure and simple." I froze, my thumb hovering over the screen. The video had hundreds of likes, comments piling up like vultures. "That's disgusting. How could a dad do that, Team Lily? You deserve better?" My stomach churned. She'd taken our fight public, twisted it into a lie that painted me as the bad guy. My own daughter dragging my name through the mud for the whole world to see. I walked to the window, half expecting to see pitchforks outside. Instead, I got a text from Mrs. Patterson, my neighbor who's been tending her roses since I moved here 30 years ago. "Henry, is it true what Lily's saying? Did you take her money?" I stared at the words, my heart sinking. Mrs. Patterson, who used to bring me soup when I was sick, now wondering if I'm a thief. I typed back. "It's not true," but my fingers felt heavy like I was fighting a losing battle. At the grocery store later, old buddies from the garage avoided my eyes, their wives whispering as I passed the cereal aisle. "Greedy old man," I heard one mutter. I grabbed my bread and got out of there, my face burning. This town, my home, was turning on me, and it hurt like hell. Back home, I slumped in my chair, the lottery ticket staring at me like it was laughing. I kept replaying Lily's video, her crocodile tears, her betrayal act. I wanted to believe it was a mistake, that she'd panicked and didn't mean it. I thought of her at 8, her tiny hand in mine as we walked to the park, her calling me best dad ever. How did that girl turn into this? Someone who'd lie to the world just to get her hands on my win. My phone rang, snapping me out of it. It was Ellen, my sister, her voice all fire and worry. "Henry, have you seen what Lily's doing? That video's everywhere. You gotta fight back to tell your side." I sighed, rubbing my temples. "Ellen, I don't even know where to start. Everyone's buying her story." She got quiet, then said, "You're not alone, Henry. You've got the truth. Don't let her take that from you." Ellen's words lit something in me, a spark I hadn't felt in days. I wasn't gonna let Lily's lies define me. I pulled out that crumpled travel agency receipt from Father's Day, the one that proved she'd used my $13,000 for James's cruise. I dug through my desk, found the bank statement showing the withdrawal, and set the lottery ticket beside them. This was my evidence, my truth. I wasn't some greedy old man. I was the guy who'd worked his ass off for his kid, only to have her spit in my face. But how do you fight a war on social media? I'm no tech wizard, just a retired mechanic with a flip phone half the time. Still, I knew I had to do something. That public ceremony was my shot, not just to claim the money, but to show this town who I really am. I looked at that ticket again. Those numbers, 7, 14, 23, 35, 42, Powerball 18, now feeling like a weapon. What was Lily gonna do next? Double down on her lies. Drag me to court. And who'd stand with me when the whole town was eating up her story? I didn't know. But I was done hiding. I'd spent too many years letting Lily's world revolve around her. This time I was fighting for me, for the truth, for the man who raised her, for the dignity she thought she could steal. I tucked the ticket in my pocket, my hand steady for the first time in days. Let her come at me. I was ready. I was drowning in this mess, man. Lily's Instagram video calling me a thief was blowing up, and the whole town was eating it up like it was gospel. Neighbors texting me, old buddies dodging me at the store. It felt like I was the bad guy in a movie I didn't sign up for. I'd gathered my evidence, that crumpled travel receipt and bank statement, tucked next to that $2 lottery ticket that was now worth $120 million. But what good was evidence when everyone was Team Lily? I was holed up in my kitchen feeling like the walls were closing in when my phone rang with a number I didn't know. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something told me to pick up. Henry, it's Arthur Johnson, the voice said, calm but firm, like a man who doesn't mess around. We need to talk. Murphy's Diner, 1 hour. Arthur James's dad. The big shot businessman from Father's Day. My gut twisted. Was he calling to pile on, to tell me to hand over the money to his son and Lily? I almost said no, but I was too beat down to argue. All right, I mumbled, grabbing my jacket. Murphy's Diner was this old-school joint-red vinyl booths, checkered floors, the kind of place where folks like me fit in, and James wouldn't be caught dead. I walked in, and there was Arthur sitting in a corner booth, his fancy suit looking out of place against the chipped coffee mugs. He stood, shook my hand, his grip strong, but not showy. Thanks for coming. Henry, he said, his eyes serious but kind, like he saw right through me. We sat, and before I could open my mouth, Arthur got straight to it. I was at that Father's Day dinner, he said. I saw Lily toss you that lottery ticket like it was a joke, no strings attached. What she's doing now, dragging your name through the mud, it's wrong. I blinked, my coffee growing cold. This guy, James's own dad, was on my side. He leaned forward, his voice low. 20 years ago, my car broke down on Route 40. I was broke starting my business, and you fixed it for free. Said it was no big deal. It was a big deal to me, Henry. I remembered that day vaguely, a beat-up sedan, a guy in a cheap suit who looked like he was carrying the world. I'd waved off the payment, told him to pay it forward. Never thought it'd come back like this. Arthur pulled out his phone, scrolling with purpose. I'm setting this straight, he said. My son and Lily are out of line. He showed me a draft on LinkedIn, his fingers steady as he typed, I witnessed Lily give Henry Brooks a lottery ticket as a Father's Day gift, no conditions. Her claims of ownership are false. I'm ashamed my son is part of this campaign to smear a good man. He looked at me, his eyes hard. James wasn't always like this. I raised him to have integrity, but he's lost it chasing money and status. I warned him last year about shady deals at his firm, but he didn't listen. I swallowed, stunned. Arthur wasn't just helping me, he was calling out his own kid. He hit post, and his phone buzzed almost instantly, notifications lighting up like a Christmas tree. Comments poured in from his business buddies, folks who knew his word was gold. This changes everything. Henry deserves better. I stared at the screen, my chest loosening for the first time in days. You didn't have to do this, I said, my voice thick. Arthur shook his head. Yes, I did. Truth matters, Henry. You're not alone in this. I felt a spark, like a weight lifting. I wasn't just some old mechanic fighting a losing battle anymore. Someone saw me. Really saw me. Driving home, I kept thinking about that post about Arthur sticking his neck out. Could it turn the tide? Would James and Lily hit back harder? My mind flashed to Lily at 10 laughing as I pushed her on a swing, calling me best dad ever. That girl was gone, but Arthur's words gave me something I hadn't felt in weeks. Hope. I pulled out that lottery ticket, the receipt, the bank statement, and started jotting down notes for the ceremony speech. I wasn't just going to claim that $120 million. I was going to stand up and tell the truth, show this town who I am. Lily could play her games, but I was done running. This was my fight now, and I was ready to swing. I thought Arthur's post would give me some breathing room, a chance to stand tall again, after Lily's lies turned my own town against me. His words on LinkedIn were like a lifeline pulling me out of the quicksand of those Instagram accusations. But man, I should have known better. Lily and James weren't going to let $120 million slip through their fingers without a fight. I was in my kitchen, still clutching that lottery ticket. Those numbers, 7, 14, 23, 35, 42, Powerball, 18, feeling like both a golden ticket and a ticking time bomb. I'd been piecing together my evidence, the travel receipt, the bank statement, Arthur's post. I was ready to face the world at that public ceremony, but the world wasn't done hitting me yet. It started with a knock at the door, sharp and official, like someone meant business. A courier handed me an envelope, the kind with a law firm's logo that screams trouble. I tore it open, my hands shaking, and there it was, a letter from some hotshot attorney James had hired. It claimed I'd breached a verbal agreement from Father's Day, that Lily's split-it-right joke was a binding contract, and they were demanding half the $120 million. Half, I laughed, but it came out bitter like I'd swallowed glass. That dinner with Lily's smirk and her tossing that $2 ticket like it was pocket change was no contract. It was a slap in the face. But the letter was slick, full of legal jargon meant to scare me, and I'll admit it did. My savings were gone. My reputation was in tatters, and now this, I felt like I was staring down a freight train. Then my phone buzzed, and my heart sank deeper. A text from Lily. Dad, don't make this harder. Give me my share, or you'll never see Tim again. Tim, my grandson, that scrappy 12-year-old who used to nap on the old couch in my garage, toy cars scattered around him. I could still see him 4 years old, giggling as I let him help me fix a carburetor, his little hands smudged with grease. Grandpa's the coolest, he'd say, his eyes wide. The thought of losing him hit like a punch to the gut. Lily knew exactly where to aim, didn't she? She wasn't just after the money, she was playing dirty, using my love for Tim to twist the knife. I stared at her message, my fingers hovering over the reply button, wanting to beg her to stop, to not take him away. But I didn't. I couldn't let her manipulate me like that. I called Ellen, my sister, needing someone to talk me off the ledge. Henry, this is nuts, she said, her voice all fire. They're bullying you. You gotta get a lawyer fight this thing. I leaned against the counter, my head pounding. Ellen, I don't have the cash for some fancy attorney. And besides, I know the truth. That ticket's mine. She got quiet, then said, You're right, but this is getting ugly. Lily's not playing fair. I could hear the worry in her voice, the same worry I felt gnawing at me. What if they dragged this to court? What if they turned Tim against me? I pictured his face, those big eyes that still looked at me like I was a hero. Losing him would break me in a way even Lily's lies couldn't. I sat down staring at my evidence spread out on the table like a war map. That travel receipt proving Lily used my $13,000 for James's cruise. The bank statement showing the withdrawal. Arthur's post calling out their lies. It was all I had, but it was enough. I wasn't some legal eagle, just a retired mechanic who'd spent his life fixing things, cars, broken promises, a kid's tears. I'd fixed enough to know you don't win by folding. No lawyer, I told Ellen. I'm doing this my way. At the ceremony, I'll tell the truth. Let the world see who they really are. She sighed, but I heard pride in her voice. You're tougher than you look, Henry. My mind kept circling back to Tim, to Lily's threat. I pulled out an old photo from my wallet, me and Tim at a county fair, him grinning with a cotton candy mustache. I'd do anything for that kid, but giving in to Lily's blackmail. That'd mean letting her win, letting her turn me into the nobody she thought I was. No way. I started scribbling notes for my speech, my hands steadier now. I'd walk into that ceremony with my head high, show them the receipts, the ticket, the truth. Could I beat this lawsuit? Would Tim ever know his grandpa's side? I didn't know, but I was done letting Lily call the shots. This was my stand for me, for Tim, for the man I'd always been. Let her and James come at me. I was ready to fight. Man, I was a nervous wreck pulling on that old Navy suit, the one I wore to my wife's funeral 8 years ago. It still fit barely, but it felt like armor as I headed to the Ohio Lottery Commission's headquarters in Columbus. My hands were shaking, clutching that $2 lottery ticket, 7, 14, 23, 35, 42, Powerball 18 like it was the only thing keeping me upright. Lily's lies, that lawyer's letter, her threat to keep Tim from me, they'd been eating me alive. Arthur's post had given me a fighting chance, turning some of the town's whispers in my favor, but today was the real test. I was walking into a room full of cameras, reporters, and God knows what else to claim $120 million and my dignity. No pressure, right? The lottery office was all glass and steel, buzzing with folks in suits and TV crews fiddling with lights. My heart was pounding like a jackhammer, but my eyes, man, they were locked on that oversized check, waiting for me. I'd spent days scribbling my speech, every word a piece of the truth. I'd been holding on to the travel receipt, the bank statement, Arthur's post. I was ready to tell the world who I was, not the greedy old man Lily painted me as, but a dad who'd given everything for his kid. As I stepped toward the stage, I spotted them in the corner, Lily and James. She wasn't yelling or causing a scene, just standing there, her eyes cold, and calculating, whispering to James like they were plotting their next move. That look of hers, all manipulation and no remorse, cut deeper than any of her Instagram videos. James, slick as ever, adjusted his tie, smirking like he owned the place. My stomach twisted, but I straightened up. This was my moment. Janet, the lottery official, gave me a warm smile as she led me to the podium. "Ready to become a millionaire, Mr. Brooks?" she asked. I nodded, my throat tight, and took the mic. The cameras flashed, blinding, but I forced myself to stand tall. "This is unexpected." I started, my voice shaky, but growing steadier. I'm just a retired mechanic, worked my whole life to provide for my daughter Lily. She gave me this ticket for Father's Day, no strings attached. Arthur Johnson, who was there, confirmed it. I'm here to claim what's mine, not just the money, but the truth. The crowd murmured, some nodding, others glancing at Lily and James. I could feel her stare like a knife in my back, but I kept going. Money can't buy self-respect, I said, but it's given me a chance to live true to who I am. Before I could finish, a reporter in the front row stood up, her voice sharp. Mr. Brooks, we've just received documents showing James Carter, your daughter's husband, has been investigated for embezzling funds from his investment firm. His company's on the brink of bankruptcy. Can you comment? The room went dead silent. My jaw dropped. James embezzling. I glanced at him, and his smug grin was gone, replaced by a pale, panicked look. Lily grabbed his arm, her face white, whispering furiously as cameras swung their way. The crowd erupted in gasps, reporters scribbling like mad. I stood there frozen, my mind racing back to Arthur's words about James's shady deals. It was like the universe had just dropped a bomb, and for once, it wasn't aimed at me. I cleared my throat, finding my voice. I don't know about James's business, I said, but I know the truth about this ticket. It's mine, a gift from my daughter, and no amount of lies can change that. The room broke into applause, loud and real, like they were finally seeing me. I looked at Lily, her eyes darting away, no longer cold, but desperate. James was already pulling her toward the exit, his face a mask of fury and shame. I felt a weight lift off my chest, like I could breathe again after weeks of drowning. My dignity wasn't just some pipe dream, it was real, and this room knew it. As I stepped off the stage, Janet handed me the ceremonial check, her smile wide. "You did good, Henry," she whispered. I nodded, my hand still shaking, but not from fear anymore. Relief, maybe. Pride. But as I walked out, I couldn't shake the image of Lily's face, that flicker of desperation. Part of me still wanted to believe she could change, that the girl who called me best dad ever was in there somewhere. Would she keep fighting? Would James's mess drag her down with him? And what about Tim? Would I ever see him again? I didn't have answers, but for the first time in weeks, I felt like I'd won something bigger than money. I'd stood up, told my truth, and walked away with my head high. Let them come at me again. I was ready. I was still riding the high from that lottery ceremony, man, like I'd finally taken a deep breath after being underwater for weeks. Standing up there, telling the world my truth, while James's embezzlement scandal blew up in his face, it felt like a win, like I'd clawed back my dignity. But the high didn't last long. I was back in my quiet Ohio house, the $120 million check sitting in a safe deposit box, but my heart still heavy. Lily's cold stare at the ceremony, her whispering to James like they were scheming it, kept replaying in my head. I wanted to believe she'd back off, that maybe, just maybe, she'd see the mess she'd made. But deep down I knew better. My little girl was gone, and I was bracing for whatever she'd throw at me next. The doorbell rang, soft and hesitant, not like Lily's usual dramatic entrance. I opened the door, and there she was, standing on my porch. Her designer coat wrinkled, her eyes puffy, like she'd been crying for real this time. No, James, no attitude, just her, looking small and broken. "Dad, can we talk?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. My heart twisted, that old dad instinct kicking in. I let her in, and we sat in the living room, the same couch where she used to curl up for bedtime stories. She started sobbing, the kind of tears that make you want to fix everything. "We're in trouble, Dad," she said. We owe $400,000. The house, credit cards, James's business, and it's all falling apart. We're losing everything." Her words hit hard, but I stayed quiet, waiting for the catch. She kept going, her voice shaking. "I didn't mean for things to get so bad. I just wanted to make James happy to keep up with his world. I thought you'd understand." She reached for my hand, her fingers cold. "Remember when you taught me to ride a bike? You kept running beside me saying, 'You got this, kiddo.' I need you now, Dad. Just $2 million. It's nothing compared to what you won." My mind flashed back to that day Lily at 8, wobbling on her bike, her laugh ringing out as I jogged beside her, my hands ready to catch her if she fell. I could still feel the pride in my chest when she finally pedaled on her own. But now, her tears, her story. It felt like a performance, like she'd rehearsed every line to pull at my heartstrings. I pulled my hand back, my throat tight. "Lily, you took $13,000 from me without asking. You lied about me to the whole world. And now this." Her eyes flicked away, and that's when I saw it, her left hand bare. No wedding ring, no sapphire ring. Her mom left her the one I'd given her after the funeral. "Where's your mom's ring?" I asked, my voice low. She froze, her face paling. I sold it," she mumbled, "to pay some debts. It was just a thing, Dad. Just a thing. That ring was her mom's last gift, the one I'd slipped on her finger when she was 15, promising we'd keep her memory alive." My heart sank, any hope I had for her crumbling like ash. This wasn't my Lily anymore. This was someone who'd sell her own past for a quick buck. I stood up, my hands shaking, but my voice steady. "Lily, money didn't change me, but it sure as hell showed me who you are." Her tears stopped, her face hardening. "You're really gonna let us lose everything? Your own daughter? What about Tim?" There it was, the knife she always knew how to twist. "Give me the money, or you'll never see him again." I pictured Tim, my grandson, napping on my garage couch, his toy cars scattered around. Grandpa's the coolest. He'd say, his grin lighting up my world. Losing him would break me, but giving in to Lily, that'd break something worse. My self-respect. "If that's your choice, Lily," I said, my voice calm but firm, "I'll live with it. But I'm done letting you call the shots." She stood, her face twisting into something cold, unrecognizable. "You're selfish, Dad. You always were." She stormed out the door, slamming behind her, the sound echoing in my quiet house. I sank onto the couch, the weight of it all crashing down. I wanted to run after her, to beg her to be my little girl again, but I didn't. I'd spent too many years enabling her, hoping she'd change. No more. I pulled out my phone and blocked her number, my fingers steady, despite the ache in my chest. Would I ever see Tim again? Would she keep fighting, dragging me through more mud? I didn't know, but for the first time, I felt free. Free to live for me, not her shadow. I was done carrying her weight. Man, after that final showdown with Lily, I felt like I'd been through a war. Blocking her number, watching her storm out of my life, it was like cutting out a piece of my heart. But it also set me free. I'd won $120 million, sure, but it wasn't the money that changed me. It was the clarity, the gut-punch realization that I didn't have to live in her shadow anymore. I packed up my little Ohio house, the one filled with memories of Lily's laughter and her mom's smile, and hit the road for Dayton. 3 hours away, far enough to start fresh, close enough to not feel like I was running. I was done being the guy everyone whispered about, the greedy old man from Lily's lies. I needed a new chapter 1, where I could be Henry Brooks again, not just a dad who got burned. I found this old garage for sale tucked on a quiet street in Dayton. Its sign faded, but the bones solid. Henderson's Classic Auto Restoration, it said. But I saw something else. I bought it on the spot, renamed it Brooks & Sons. Yeah, Sons was a nod to the dreams I'd shared with Lily years ago, back when she'd sit in my garage sketching cars while I worked. I'd tell her, "One day, kiddo, we'll fix up classics together." That dream was gone, but the name felt right, like a way to honor what I'd always wanted for us. The first day I rolled up my sleeves and started on a 1967 Mustang, its fender rusted but full of potential. My hands, still rough from years of wrench turning, felt alive again. I tightened a bolt, the smell of motor oil filling my lungs, and for the first time in months, I smiled a real, honest-to-God smile. This was me doing what I loved, not what someone else expected. I didn't stop at the garage. Those years after my wife died, raising Lily alone, working double shifts to keep us afloat, they taught me what it's like to struggle as a single parent. So I took a chunk of that lottery money and started the Family Hope Foundation, a fund to help single moms and dads cover bills, school fees, whatever they needed to keep going. I remembered those nights I'd fall asleep in my chair, too tired to eat, just to make sure Lily had what she needed. No one should have to fight that hard alone. Setting up the fund felt like building something bigger than me, something that'd outlast the pain Lily caused. Every grant I signed off on felt like a small victory, like I was turning my hurt into something good. Dayton started to feel like home. One evening, my neighbor Helen, this sweet lady with a laugh like a bell, knocked on my door with a plate of homemade chocolate chip cookies. "Henry, you're coming to the block party this weekend," she said, not asking, but telling. "We take care of our own around here." I chuckled, caught off guard. "All right, Helen, you got me." That Saturday, I showed up with a 6-pack of soda, feeling like a fish out of water. But the way folks welcomed me, kids running around, neighbors swapping stories over burgers, it was like I'd been there forever. Helen introduced me as the new guy with the cool garage. And for the first time in ages, I didn't feel like Lily's dad or the lottery guy. I was just Henry, and that was enough. Still late at night, my mind wandered back to Lily and Tim. I'd lie awake staring at the ceiling, wondering if I'd done the right thing cutting her off. I kept seeing Tim's face, that cotton candy grin from the county fair, him calling me Grandpa's the coolest. Would he grow up thinking I'd abandoned him? Would Lily keep poisoning him against me? I pushed those thoughts down, focusing on the garage, the foundation, the life I was building. But the ache was there, a quiet bruise that wouldn't fade. Could I find peace here in Dayton, really? Or would my past come knocking again, dragging me back into the mess I kept busy hiring 2 local mechanics, good kids with quick hands and big dreams? We finished that Mustang, and when the owner saw it, his eyes welled up. "She's like new," he said, running his hand over the hood. I got it. That car wasn't just metal. It was a piece of his story, just like this garage was becoming mine. I hung a small frame on the shop wall, that $2 lottery ticket inside, not as a trophy, but a reminder. Sometimes the things people toss aside are worth more than they know. I wasn't running from my past anymore. I was building something new, something real, and nobody, not Lily, not James, could take that from me. Man, Dayton felt like a fresh start, like I'd finally crawled out from under the weight of everything. Lily's lies, James's smug grin, the whole damn mess. My garage, Brooks & Sons, was alive with the hum of engines, the smell of motor oil, and the clank of tools. The Family Hope Foundation was rolling, sending out checks to single parents, who reminded me of myself back when I was raising Lily, alone scraping by on coffee and grit. The neighbors like Helen, with her warm laugh and homemade cookies, made me feel like I belonged. But even with all that, there was this quiet ache, like a bruise that wouldn't heal. Lily was gone. Her number blocked her last words. "You're selfish," Dad still echoing. And Tim, my grandson, that scrappy kid with the brightest grin, was the piece I couldn't let go. Would I ever see him again? Would he grow up thinking I was the villain? Lily painted me as I was in the garage one morning polishing a toolbox, the sun slanting through the windows, when the mailman dropped off a small envelope. The handwriting was messy, all loops and smudges, like a kid had scribbled it in a hurry. My heart skipped when I saw the return address, Tim Carter. I tore it open, my hands shaking like they did when I first checked that lottery ticket. "Dear Grandpa," it read, "I miss you so much. Mom's been mad saying you took her money, but I don't believe her. You're not a thief. I want to come back to your garage and fix cars with you. Please don't forget me. Love, Tim." I sank onto a stool, my eyes burning. I could see him 12 years old sneaking this letter out, maybe hiding it under his bed so Lily wouldn't find it. That kid who used to nap on my old couch with toy cars scattered around still called me Grandpa's the coolest. It was like a crack of sunlight breaking through a storm. I grabbed a model car I'd been saving, a tiny '69 Camaro cherry red, just like one we'd worked on it together. I wrote a note, my hand unsteady. "I'm always here for you, kiddo. This is for our next project." I mailed it off, picturing his face lighting up, hoping it'd slip past Lily's radar. A soft piano tune played in my head, the kind that makes your chest ache with hope. I thought back to a day when Tim was 6, sitting on my garage floor, his little hands smudged with grease as we fixed a toy truck. "We're a team, Grandpa," he'd said, his grin bigger than the world. That letter was proof he still felt it, and it gave me something I hadn't had in months, a reason to believe in family again. Later that day, I was cruising in the '67 Mustang we'd restored the Ohio countryside, stretching out fields golden under a September sky. The radio crackled with a news update. Carter & Company, the investment firm of James Carter, has filed for bankruptcy amid embezzlement charges. Sources report James and his wife Lily face multiple lawsuits from former clients. Witnesses saw them arguing outside their foreclosed home, their BMW repossessed. I didn't laugh or cheer, but a quiet satisfaction settled in, like the universe was finally setting things right. I could picture them standing by that fancy car, yelling as their perfect world crumbled. Lily, who'd called me selfish, who'd sold her mom's ring for a quick buck, was reaping what she'd sown. James, with his slick suits and smug grin, was done. Me, I was driving free, the wind in my hair no longer chained to their lies. I pulled into the Dayton Community Center, where my foundation had just funded a scholarship for a single mom's kid to go to trade school. A bronze plaque shone on the wall, Family Hope Foundation, honoring self-respect. I traced the words, my chest swelling with something I hadn't felt in years. Pride not just for me, but for what I'd built from the ashes of Lily's betrayal. I thought back to those nights after my wife died, falling asleep in my chair, too tired to eat just to keep Lily in school. I'd given her everything, but she'd chosen to throw it away. This foundation, this garage, this town, they were my proof that I didn't need her to tell me who I was. Back at the garage, I hung a small frame on the wall, that $2 lottery ticket inside, right next to a faded photo of me, Lily, and Tim at a county fair, his face smeared with cotton candy. The ticket wasn't a trophy. It was a reminder that the things people toss aside can hold the most value. I stood there, my eyes lingering on Tim's grin, my heart catching. Would I see him again, wrench in hand, like we'd dreamed. Would Lily and James keep fighting, dragging their mess into my new life? I didn't know, but for the first time, I was at peace. I'd lived my truth, built something real, and that was enough. I locked up the shop, the evening sky streaked with stars. Driving home, I passed kids playing in the street, neighbors waving from porches. Dayton was more than a place. It was home, one I'd earned through sweat and heart. Lily and James could keep their lawsuits and broken dreams. I had my hands, my purpose, and a kid out there who still believed in me. I'd built a life worth living, and no one could take that away. Not now, not ever. Looking back, this whole crazy ride, Lily's betrayal, that $2 ticket, turning into $120 million, the lies, the fights, it taught me something real. It's not about the money, man. It's about standing up for who you are, even when the world's screaming, you are nothing. I lost my daughter to her own choices, but I found something bigger, my self-respect. Building Brooks & Sons. Starting the Family Hope Foundation, getting that letter from Tim. It showed me that family isn't just blood. It's the people who see you, who lift you up when you're down. I learned to let go of what I couldn't fix and pour my heart into what I could. That's the legacy I'm leaving, not just for Tim, but for every single parent out there fighting the good fight. You don't need a jackpot to live true, just the guts to keep going. If this story hit you in the feels, if it made you root for the underdog or rethink what family means, hit that like button, share it with your folks, and subscribe to catch more real-life dramas like this. I'm Henry Brooks, and this is my truth. Sometimes the things folks toss aside, like a $2 ticket or an old mechanic like me, are worth more than anyone knows. Thanks for listening.